My name's Caroline Leek, and I am the founder and director of an organisation called Fruit Fly Collective. We've been around for about 10 years, and the majority of our work is supporting parents who have cancer. So today we're going to introduce and launch the new family gene kit. You don't know what it is yet.
Thank you, Caroline. My name's Jackie McDermott, and I am a histopathologist, which is unusual, isn't it? And I've been involved with Fruit Fly Collective. I work at Imperial at Charing Cross Hospital, and some of you who were here last year might remember that we came and talked to you last year about the work that we were doing in creating resources to help healthcare professionals talk to patients, mainly women who've been diagnosed with endometrial cancer, about their diagnosis, but also to explain to them about MMR testing and what it meant, and also to help patients to understand as well, because obviously it can be quite a complicated pathway. So that was the work that we did last year. And that we launched that through RM Partners, which is West London Cancer Alliance. So that work has led on to this new family gene kit. The work that we've been doing has been really collaborative. So it was funded by RM Partners, West London Cancer Alliance, led by the wonderful Lindsay Ballantyne, who's not here today. Also, obviously, hand in hand with Lynch Syndrome UK, the wonderful Tracy, Fruit Fly Collective, and St Mark's as well, the wonderful Laura. So we've had some brilliant people, women, I should say. We never did get any men, did we? We didn't bar them, they just didn't turn up. So, so it's been a really wonderfully collaborative, stop moving my slides, I'm not finished yet, collaborative project with pathologists, oncologists, particularly Laura Tuckman from Imperial. But most importantly, it's been a project that has had people with lived experience of Lynch syndrome being involved in the work and directing the work. And so the family gene kit, which Caroline is going to talk to you about, and which are over there for you to look at, particularly has been informed by the wonderful Vicky. Give us a wave, Vicky. Yeah, give us a wave. And Steph as well. I don't think Steph's here today. So, you know, the input from our patients or people with Lynch syndrome really has been completely invaluable to the work and the direction that we took. So the reason for doing this, you can move on now, is really, well, I mean, there's sort of three major reasons. And I'm sure that all of you who've been diagnosed with Lynch syndrome, when you were first diagnosed, I should imagine that it must have gone through your minds about what it means for your immediate family. So your children, your brothers and sisters, cousins, even mums and dads. And that's something that really is not isn't really helped by healthcare professionals. It's not something that's really spoken about, or at least it wasn't until now. And there wasn't really the resources to help people. And one of the things that we realised was that people who are diagnosed, not just with Lynch syndrome, but with any sort of familial cancer gene mutation, that this has a huge impact on your life and on your family's lives. And how do you talk to your children about it? How do you start that conversation? And how do you start a conversation? Do you start a conversation with a 5-year-old, with a 10-year-old, with a 22-year-old? There's lots of different ways of doing that. So the kits that we've created will hopefully help people to begin that discussion if that's what they feel that they need to do in their family, but also hopefully the kits will help healthcare professionals to talk to patients as well, or to people that have been diagnosed with Lynch syndrome, to allow them to be able to talk to their families in a way that they feel that is appropriate. And there is evidence, and Caroline's more familiar with this than I am, that if you talk to your children about having a gene mutation in the family, that they're able to cope better with that as the years go on. So I'll hand over to Caroline now. She's going to talk to you and show you about the kits.
Thank you, Jack. So there were sort of three objectives, really. We wanted to make sure that we had created a kit that, as Jack said, help families understand and communicate around quite complex things, really, if you're not a scientist, and then do it in an age-appropriate way. But also we wanted to make sure it's really inclusive for a family. So if you've got a 5-year-old and a 14-year-old, we wanted to create a kit where you could start those conversations when they're young and they can continue to understand and take what they want as they grow older. And then also we wanted to include some tools that helped with sort of mental well-being and supporting that from both the parent and a child. So here's the stars of the show. I just put that up for giggles, really. So to begin with, we wanted to do parent information because really the parents are the gateways for the children to see the kits to begin with. So we wanted to make sure that they felt comfortable with what they were going to be exploring with their family. So it starts with a little hello postcard, but then there's a big booklet, and within the booklet, it talks all around about why it's important to be open and honest and how you can start those conversations, what's the ages and stages that the children understand about genetics and risks, and given explanations, descriptions, and potential kind of ideas of how they can start and what their children's responses might be and how to answer those questions. We've given little ideas about explaining cancer as well in different age-appropriate ways. And then we've done different inserts. So basically, the kit comes as whole thing, and then depending on what the family is, who's in the family rather, they can take out the inserts. So say if they did have a little one, they can just use the ones that are designed for preschool children. So there are 3 different ages, so nursery, sort of 3 to 5-year-olds, and then a primary school one for 6 to sort of 10 or something like that, and then one for younger people. So for example, we looked at genes, and so this is for tiny little ones, and we had a little characters, so that can be used throughout all of the tools, so it had a little bit of continuity. And again, we just explained cells in a really age-appropriate way. And then, of course, the purple one is a bit for more primary school kids, so we could introduce genes and a bit more information, and then for older children, we could really start talking about bases and whatnot. Similar same sort of thing for talking about cancer, really starting off with preschool kids, just using analogies like the flower beds and stuff like that they can just get a little bit of information. They don't need much at all, but the parents can use what they feel that is appropriate for their children. And for some kids who are older, they may prefer tools that are designed for younger children. So then we did some more biology lessons. So again, it was just looking at the bowel, the endometrium, and then opposite side there is for ovaries. And then we kind of wanted to put in little kind of like activities that families could do. So again, to sort of increase that learning or embed that learning. So for example, we did inherited traits. So the kids go and look at their parents or whatever and see what traits and sort of start to understand a bit more about genetics within the family. And then we've got a tool for young people. So this is for older sort of teens where they start to think about them testing themselves. What kind of questions, what thoughts they might be thinking, how actually all thoughts are normal and, how they might be feeling. And so allowing them to have sort of permission to think about all the kind of different aspects and the impact it's going to have on them if they are going to get tested. And then we did a photo shoot. And Kevin there. So we went to St. Mark's and they really kindly opened their arms to us and our little creature there, Swimmy. And there's Kevin about to do a colonoscopy on a crocheted animal. And I think it goes quite natural there. So again, the idea really is to make sure it's not a fun thing, but it's a thing that let's start talking to the children when they're young, because they're not fearful, they're not scared, but they often want to know where their parents go. So if they're going, their parents are going every year or whatever, they can get this book out again and go, oh, this is where I go, this is what happens, this is my colonoscopist person or whatever. Look at the camera. They're starting those conversations so they've got a nice platform to talk about stuff. So we looked at all the different things that they might see, and again, it was one of the things from the parents really within the group that really told us that their children go, what happens, what does it look like? They're trying to visualize, they're trying to capture actually what happens when their parents go away to this magical place. And so we kind of did a photo shoot, kind of looking at a sort of child from a child's perspective, so waiting rooms and that sort of stuff, and then going a little bit more into detail. So if someone is having a colonoscopy, then what happens, like recovery and things like that. And then looking at things like stoma. So if their parents come home with a stoma bag, then they're already prepared. So that's like limiting the fear of the unknown. So then we did a little comic strip there, and that's just sort of, again, it's a really gentle way to introduce what happens when somebody has a colonoscopy. So similarly for the older children, we did a similar thing, but we added a bit more information, and this is a bit more about screening and sort of tests and things like that, giving a little bit more information that they could handle. Q&A cards, so like just sort of general questions that little children may ask and may assume might happen to them, and sometimes it's really hard for the adults to sort of think of an answer, and especially, but if the adults can look at the back, so they've got questions, they've got the answers. And again, it's not prescriptive, nothing's prescriptive, but it's maybe a way to sort of encourage or facilitate those communications. So there's loads of questions for little children, and then there's lots of coping cards again. So it's a different ways, and really sometimes these are just sort of mentioning, giving the child the permission that, yeah, you can feel angry, that's absolutely normal emotion. How shall we kind of help you with that? But really younger children won't particularly have all those big emotions, but young people may do. So we wanted to make sure that we covered a whole range of thoughts that they may have, such as feeling guilty if they don't have the genetic mutation, but their sibling does, and those sort of things. And again, on the back, we just did different ways of coping. Then there's loads of family activities. So this one in particular is great to introduce. So when you start talking about introducing that the family might have an inherited genetic mutation, what it is, so they can really like own it kind of thing. And it's their story, and it becomes part of their story. So as they grow up, it's a normal thing that they all chat about and talk about and whatever, in whatever way they want to. But it's a way for them to sort of think, oh, okay, this is us now, and this is who we are. So they can fill all of that in, and then there's loads of other things as well. So coping activities, lots of stuff. And the whole idea really is to make it a vibrant kind of thing that they can return to if they want to, when they want to. It's not frightening, it's not branded, it's something that's quite engaging for both the parent and the children. So there's, in terms of how bespoke it is to Lynch, there are various things in there. For example, there's a little kids version, a kids guide to what Lynch is, and there's some other bits and bobs that are very much more sort of bespoke to Lynch. But the rest is quite generic, and so in terms of what's talking about genes and things like that.
Yeah, because we're also the next step really is to have this kit available. It's a family gene kit, so obviously it started with Lynch because of all the great work that Tracy's done and the work that we've been involved in with St Mark's as well. But we want it to be available for anybody that's got a gene mutation that increases your risk of getting cancer. So the next thing that we're doing at the moment, we're working with the breast cancer charities to put in inserts to do with BRCA mutations and if you have breast cancer and other cancers as well. So it'll be, hopefully, it'll be available worldwide. Well, you all right, maybe that's going a bit too far, but at least nationally anyway. And also that it's not something, we don't want there to be, I mean, we have to, obviously it has to be paid for, but we don't want there to be barriers for people to be able to access it. So certainly, because it was funded by Royal Marsden Partners, West London Cancer Alliance, it's going to be available within that patch for all hospitals in that patch, so it will be in clinics so that healthcare professionals can use it, and then they can like signpoint patients to getting their own kits if that's what they want. But I think as well it'll be on the, will it be on the, well, there'll be something on the RMP website, won't there, Laura? So yeah, exactly. So people, you know, other hospitals across the country can order them. And then we've got to do a little dance to finish because we did that last year.
Any questions?